Okay. Time to watch Glitter Force on Netflix, I guess. Give me your worst! No. And this soap's gonna build up. What? I have to clean my tub. Go to the opening. I'm busy here. I've seen worse.
Yeah, that's honestly the most I can say about this adaptation of Smile Precure. It's not as bad as I was expecting. Oh, sure, there were problems that we'll get to, but after a childhood filled with dealing with 4 kids, plain incompetence, this was actually a bit refreshing. For those who have seen my previous 2 videos, my Precure analysis video and my early thoughts on the title of the show, you'll know that Smile Precure is one of my personal favorite in the long-running Magical Girl franchise. It wouldn't be my first choice for a Precure series to adapt and bring to the West, but I was still looking forward to it despite a rather cheesy title that again I've spoken my piece about in my previous video. So for this video, let's get into some of the other changes that I felt were either good or bad or really no big deal either way.
For starters, what about all the changes to the characters' names? Well, as much as I would have appreciated them keeping the original Japanese names, I'm not totally against them giving these characters more westernized names.
Yuki became Emily, Akane became Kelsey, Yayoi became Lily, Nao became April, and Reika became Chloe. I grew up watching stuff like Digimon and Pokemon back when 4Kids was competent, where characters had westernized names, and I still liked those shows. Hell, I'd probably be more bothered if the cast had an odd mixture of Western and Asian names like they did in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or they had their Japanese names changed to different Japanese names for no particular reason like in Tamers.
Yeah, as long as they don't give them really pretentious names, then I'm good. As for their Precure or Glitter forms in this case, yeah, I'm still not going to get used to that name. They also changed those around a little bit too.
Sunny and Peace remained the same, but we got Happy becoming Lucky, March becoming Spring, and Beauty becoming Breeze. Again, these aren't inherently bad name changes. Yeah, they're cheesy names, but so were the original names, Cure Happy. And at least in Spring's case, it makes more sense. Yeah, Cure March was meant to refer to the first month in the season of Spring, but if that were the case, why not just call her Spring? Heck, they already named the girl April, so she already has a spring month in her name, so yeah, actually kudos to the staff for giving her a actually appropriate name change for both her civilian and hero forms. They also changed the name of the villains, and my opinion is pretty much the same for them.
So then let's move on to the sounds of this adaptation, starting with the voice acting, which, again, it's actually pretty darn good here.
Right off the bat, I could tell that Emily was voiced by Laura Bailey using her Sana from Kodocha voice, which was perfect. Candy, the mascot character, was voiced by Debbie Derryberry, who's best known for playing Jimmy Neutron, so there's a super veteran right there. And the last guy I could recognize was Candy's brother, Pop, being played by Todd Haberkorn. Again, Korn has a good voice and everything, it's just I could recognize it from a mile away. Other than that, I couldn't recognize anyone else, and nobody bothered to put their names in the credits. G-Saban, give your actor some credit. Thankfully though, TV Tropes had my back. As it turns out, Kelsey was voiced by Colleen Shaughnessy, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, who is best known for playing Sora from Digimon. April was Daniel Jodovitz, again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, who voiced Tenten from Naruto, while Chloe was voiced by Kate Higgins, one of my personal favorite VAs who also plays Mercury from Sailor Moon. I guess blue magical girls are her thing. This is actually a really good cast, with the exception of, unfortunately, the most popular character, Yayoi, or in this case, Lily. I'm unfamiliar with her actress Alex Cazares, but while she can produce a nice soft-spoken voice for Lily, anything louder than that and her voice starts to get really raspy, which doesn't match well with the character who's supposed to be like the Fluttershy of the group. But other than that, this is actually a great cast, and at least a league above 4Kids in terms of quality, especially in the ADR direction. Not that that's a difficult task, but still. The music and sounds aren't anything to write home about, they're not terrible, though I do really prefer the original Smile Pretty Cure BGM, which for a kids show could sound really damn epic at times. Still, I'd be lying if I said I didn't find the English opening by Blush not the least bit catchy.
So overall, the sound is actually pretty above average, mostly thanks to Laura's great performance as Emily.
Last and most importantly, let's talk about the actual writing and content here. While I'll admit that lines like fabulous and girl power sound incredibly forced and cheesy as all hell, they're not the worst bits of writing I've ever heard in my life.
Hell, as much as I like it, I'll be the first to admit that Smile Pretty Cure was cheesy as all hell, hence why I would say it was the best series to get a full-on adaptation.
There were also little changes to the writing that I didn't care for all that much, like getting rid of Peace's rock, paper, scissors game, which he plays every episode and it's just a lot of fun. Still, at least the writing that I liked about Smile Pretty Cure got adapted here for the most part. I am of course talking about the meta jokes, like actually pointing out how Candy looks like a doll you could buy at the store, or actually pointing out how cheesy their lines are. This was definitely the Pretty Cure series where the writers knew a good chunk of their fan base was becoming very brony-esque, hence why many episodes felt like they were written by M.A. Larson himself. Actually, one of the jokes at the end of the second episode almost felt like it was a jab at MLP, which I'm all for, even though I'm a huge fan of that series too. Again, I just love it when shows lampshade their genre's common tropes, and unlike Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the jokes don't feel forced here.
And so what if he's more powerful? I'm really good at playing card games!
And while we're on the subject of 4Kids incompetence, this show actually went out of its way to translate some of the more plot-relevant science and writing to English instead of just leaving them blank. In particular, in the 15th episode, they had a Monster of the Week that was a talking textbook that attacked using trivia questions written inside of it. They actually localized many of the questions, and even made the final question a Japanese translation problem. Take that, 4Kids, and your xenophobic ways. Yeah, pretty much all of the edits in the show made sense, and the stuff that they couldn't edit out, they just left it alone and worked around it instead of turning something into, say, a poorly photoshopped sandwich or donut. Granted, for the episode where they were clearly going to Kyoto, they had the characters say they were going to a city that recreated Kyoto's landmarks for some reason.
Oh come on, like there would be a western city with that much Japanese architecture in it. Except for that tea house I once went to in Waikiki, and that Buddhist monastery I trained at for a few years, and that Shinto temple I go to every New Year's. Does Glitter Force actually take place in Hawaii? Because that would be awesome.
But you get the idea. For the most part, they didn't try to hide anything that was culturally different, and even openly mentioned stuff like geisha and okonomiyaki. You know, the stuff that 4Kids would find too shocking for kids just because it's culturally different. Actually, I'm honestly surprised at some of the stuff they kept in. Along with Emily's freaky as all hell wide-angle lens face from the Kyoto episode, they also kept in Joker, or Rascal's creepiness in full force here. Not only does he still sound super pedophilic, they also kept in this gem of a face in, plus Peace's reaction to it. Seriously, kudos to the staff for actually keeping these awesome expressions in. Again, this is something that 4Kids would never have the balls to keep in. The only noticeable bit of censorship I found was in the 20th episode, where they cut out a pan-up of Bruja the Witch when she became a very busty younger version of herself. Because, yeah, that's an essential shot for something from an anime for little girls. There's just so much plot there. You make the Dazzlings look cell by comparison. However, there's still the issue of the episodes they skipped over for this first 20 episode batch on Netflix. First, there was the 10th episode, Smile Pretty Cure, that was focused on Akane taking care of her family's okonomiyaki restaurant. I'm guessing they skipped this episode, not so much because Saban hates okonomiyaki, as I said, they actually pointed it out back in the 3rd episode, and even acknowledged that Kelsey's family owns such a restaurant, but because it's a bit of a needless filler episode, I'll fully admit, about a food many Westerners are unfamiliar with. Hell, even in a very Japanese-influenced state like Hawaii, I only know of one place that serves okonomiyaki, and it's in the fancier restaurant district in Waikiki. It's probably a similar case for the 17th episode, which is the one episode I'm relieved they skipped over because it was awful. Not because it was offensive or anything, but just because it was boring. Basically, it guest starred a Japanese comedy duo, Fujiwara, whose brand of comedy probably would have meshed well with a Western audience. Hell, even in Japan, after over 20 years, their routine was probably getting stale just judging by the comments I read about them. Ironically, the only funny moments I remember from this episode were when they were bombing at their routine. So, as much as I am against editing out any sort of content from a show, I can understand why they wanted to take out these 2 episodes, as I myself probably would skip them if I ever marathoned the show. That said, the 3rd episode they skipped over is one that I'm honestly upset that they did, and it prevents me from giving this show any higher praises. It was the 19th episode of Smile Pretty Cure, in which Yayoi was trying to remember why her father named her Yayoi. It was a very touching episode that wasn't even all that dark, despite it being about a dead parent. Yayoi wasn't even being all that mopey about her father being dead, and she was just honestly trying to remember the good times she had with him. But nope, I guess any show for little girls can bring up the subject of dead parents. I mean, you never see Applejack bringing up her parents, oh wait. Now, granted, these episodes might be released on Blu-ray later, since the items they got from those episodes still appeared in the following episodes, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Overall though, I'd say this is a competent adaptation. The fact that they kept in so much, as well as got some higher tier talent, really shows that Saban at least cares about this adaptation. At least more than ours would. But still, there is a major problem, aside from the episodes they're skipping. They're actually going to skip 5 more episodes. But the thing that I think will hold this series back is, unfortunately, its distribution.
Right now, it's only available on Netflix, and unless you're in the know, it might not automatically appear on everyone's profile. As it is now, it's perfectly suitable to air on something like, say, Nickelodeon, though considering how they dropped the ball on broadcasting Digimon Fusion, maybe Saban is not taking any more chances. Still, as much as I have problems with some of the changes in the show, I want it to succeed because I want to get more of this great magical girl franchise in the West. If it actually gets popular enough, they might even make a more direct localization, perhaps even keeping original titles for future shows, which would be very nice. You could say they'd be going in the opposite direction of 4Kids, and no, I will never stop bashing on those bastards because they screwed up so many shows. But anyway, as it stands, if you want to get into the Pretty Cure franchise, I'd actually recommend looking for fan subs of the currently airing series Gold Princess Pretty Cure. But if you want to watch a series through legal streaming methods, I would suggest watching this one on Netflix. If anything else, it'll replace your need for MLP for a while. Take it for what it's worth.
So those are my overall thoughts for the first 20 episodes of Glitter Force. I might revisit this after watching the next 20 episodes, but still, if you guys have your own thoughts, feel free to comment below. Until then though, farewell for now, my friends.
This isn't funny!